Tonight, new details in the operation to get Americans off that Hantavirus cruise ship, where they'll be brought to in America, and the new state now monitoring residents for the disease. New plans in place to get 17 Americans off that ship, the State Department plane being sent in, and the facility in the U.S. they'll travel to that once quarantined Ebola cases. New Jersey now monitoring people for symptoms. Our reporter where the passengers will arrive first. Also tonight, the UFO files released hundreds of previously secret documents detailing mysterious objects flying in the sky, the unexplained images and files going back 80 years. Will this bring us closer to learning if there's really life beyond Earth? The new video of U.S. fighter jets striking Iranian oil tankers, but President Trump saying the ceasefire is still intact. Will Iran agree to a deal to end the war? Deadly volcanic eruption, at least 3 killed, hikers set running for their lives, ash shooting miles high into the air. What this guide saw as he raced to safety. Fatal bear attack, the possible mauling at another popular national park, days after this one at Yellowstone. Should tourists now be concerned? New clues in the Kristin Smart case, what investigators just announced 3 decades after that college student vanished. A truck colliding with a school bus just as a teen was about to get on. Moments later, the hug every parent can understand. Humans behaving badly, a tourist in Hawaii hurling a rock at an endangered seal, the charges he could face. And our series, Great Americans, my sit-down with iconic country music star Brad Paisley, how this great nation shaped his iconic songs and how he and his wife are giving back. Nightly News starts right now.
This is NBC Nightly News with Tom Yamas.
And good evening. We begin tonight with the race to contain that deadly hantavirus outbreak on a cruise ship in the Atlantic. And new details just coming into our newsroom about what will happen to the 17 Americans still on board. The CDC is now preparing to meet those passengers here on the Canary Islands off the coast of West Africa, where they'll get off that ship. They'll go straight to a U.S. government plane that will then fly them all the way to Nebraska, where those passengers will isolate in the National Quarantine Unit at the University of Nebraska. The same facility, you remember, that held people exposed to COVID and Ebola when those outbreaks began. And now, a 6th American state, New Jersey, is monitoring people who may have been exposed to an infected cruise ship passenger. Danielle Hamamjian is where the ship is heading to in the Canary Islands off the coast of West Africa and leads us off tonight.
New details on the exit plan to get the 17 Americans trapped on this luxury cruise ship back home. When the MV Hondius anchors off the coast of Tenerife this weekend, they'll be met by a team dispatched by the CDC before flying home on a repatriation flight arranged by the U.S. State Department. They'll isolate in the National Quarantine Unit at Nebraska Medicine in Omaha, the same facility that housed people exposed to COVID in 2020 and Ebola in 2014.
On arrival, we'll receive an epidemiologic assessment, and at that point, the quarantine period will be determined. But at this point, we don't have a defined quarantine period.
New Jersey now monitoring 2 people who never boarded the ship but were potentially exposed to an infected passenger during air travel. On the Canary Islands, there are fears even 1 case of the virus could keep the desperately needed tourists away.
The ship is now hours away, and people here are angry. They're shouting things like, yes to tourism, no to the virus.
Meanwhile, authorities now paying close attention to that April 24th KLM flight from Johannesburg to Amsterdam, where one of the cruise passengers with the virus was removed before takeoff and later died. The flight attendant from that flight, who was hospitalized yesterday, now testing negative, along with 2 other passengers who developed symptoms.
The virus is not that contagious that it easily jumps from person to person.
But now a woman in Alicante, Spain, who also wasn't on the ship but was on that KLM flight, is showing symptoms consistent with a hantavirus infection. Her test results expected this weekend.
Danielle is there live in the Canary Islands for us tonight. And Danielle, you have more details on how, once that cruise ship is there, the people on board will be moved to land?
Yeah, that's right, Tom. Spanish authorities saying small boats will ferry 5 passengers at a time, bring them back to the port where they'll be isolated from the rest of the public, taken straight to the airport where they'll board their repatriation flights. Local officials say they hope to evacuate everybody within 24 to 48 hours. Tom.
Danielle Hamamjian with that new reporting for us. Danielle, we thank you. Back here at home to the Pentagon releasing UFO files. The Trump administration releasing never-before-seen images of unexplained objects in the sky collected by the U.S. government dating all the way back to the 1940s. Here's Tom Costello with those images.
Tonight, more mysterious images just revealed. 160 government files detailing 400 alleged UFO encounters, including this infrared military video from 2013 of what appears to be an 8-pointed star streaking across the sky. Mysterious white and black aerial blips that defy the laws of physics. More grainy still images of the unexplained. And this image taken from the moon by the Apollo 17 astronauts of what appears to be lights hovering overhead. The astronauts later suggested it could have been ice crystals. Today, President Trump posted, with these new documents and videos, the people can decide for themselves. But there are no reports of aliens or spacecraft in government custody. Many leading astrophysicists remain skeptical.
Just because you see something and you don't know what it is, you can't then say it must be aliens visiting from outer space.
The documents date back to the 1940s, including an FBI report from an Air Force colonel reporting a flying disc. More recent reports from fighter pilots. This diagram from people who claim they witnessed a cigar-shaped object. And a 2023 video of 3 concentric circles flying in unison.
I have not seen anything to suggest that we've been visited by any intelligent life forms out there.
But the universe is massive, at least 2 trillion galaxies and trillions more planets.
Given the vastness of the universe, it's really hard to imagine that life, and even intelligent life, hasn't formed somewhere. It's hard to imagine that anybody is visiting us or continually visiting us.
And Tom, tonight there is a pattern, though. A lot of these images coming from military pilots that are near or around military facilities or ships.
Yeah, and that raises concern that some of these unexplained aerial phenomenon could include technology that America's adversaries here on Earth possess, but we don't. Tom?
Okay, Tom Costello, we thank you for that. To the Mideast now, in that new video of the U.S. attacking Iranian oil tankers, trying to break through its blockade, all as the U.S. is awaiting the Iranian regime's response to its plan to end the war. Here's Courtney Cubie.
Tonight, the new showdown in the Strait. U.S. F-A-18 fighter jets firing on 2 Iranian oil tankers, small guided bombs seen here striking their smokestacks, using delayed fuses to disable their propulsion without destroying the ships. CENTCOM saying the ships violated the U.S. blockade of Iranian ports, which has been squeezing Iran's economy to try and get the Iranian regime to make a deal. While Iran is again firing on civilian targets in the United Arab Emirates, UAE officials say its air defenses intercepted Iranian ballistic missiles and drones.
You know, they don't have a navy anymore, but they bring out these little Boston whaler fishing boats.
All as we're learning more about Iran's attack on U.S. ships Thursday. Iran launching missiles, drones, and fast boats at these 3 U.S. Navy destroyers. The U.S. repelled the attacks, but also responded with strikes on Iranian military targets, the first strikes on Iranian territory during the ceasefire.
Of course we fired back at them. They were shooting at us. That's what I would expect to do. Only stupid countries don't shoot back when you're shot at.
And President Trump saying the ceasefire is still in effect.
They trifled with us today. We blew them away.
In a phone interview with NBC News today, President Trump saying the war is not over, again insisting, quote, we're pretty close to a deal with Iran, who's not yet responded to the U.S. offer to end the war.
It's an offer that's basically said they will not have nuclear weapons, they're going to hand us the nuclear dust, and many other things that we want.
All right, Courtney joins us live now. Courtney, I know you have new reporting on the tensions between the U.S. and some of our Gulf allies.
Yeah, Tom, Saudi Arabia and Kuwait both closed airspace and bases to U.S. military flights supporting President Trump's Project Freedom, protecting oil tankers from Iranian attacks, according to 2 U.S. officials. And now we're told they believed Project Freedom would actually lead to Iranian attacks on them. Tom?
Okay, Courtney, we thank you. And for much more, make sure to watch our good friend Kristen Welker this Sunday on Meet the Press. We have another bear attack at a popular national park to tell you about, and this one is deadly. It happened just days after another attack in Yellowstone. Here's Morgan Chesky.
Tonight, multiple trails closed in Montana's Glacier National Park. Signs warning of bear danger after what authorities suspect was a fatal bear attack. Park officials sharing they found a hiker's body Wednesday in a densely wooded area about 50 feet off the popular Mount Brown Trail. The park is home to roughly 1,000 bears, with an estimated 300 of those being grizzlies. Just days ago in Yellowstone National Park, a bear attack left 2 hikers badly mauled.
Definitely bear. Its claws.
Park officials say the attack happened on a trail not far from the iconic Old Faithful geyser. And last month, this video capturing a black bear in Southern California. Charging a hiker, no one was hurt. Wildlife biologist Jeff Corwin says this time of year can pose additional risk when crossing paths with a bear.
They're very afraid of other bears, and you don't want to fall prey to being a victim of misidentification.
Now, tonight, it's still unknown what kind of bear may have attacked at Glacier, but wildlife officials say that they are scouring that area for any animal activity. Tom? All right, Morgan, thank you. We have stunning images out of Indonesia showing the massive volcano eruption that authorities believe left multiple hikers dead. Keir Simmons now with this stunning video.
Oh, the rock are coming. Tonight, terrifying scenes on a volcanic mountain in Indonesia.
Oh my God, they died. Oh, they died.
Here, the moment Mount Dakono on Halmahera Island erupted, shot by a guide whose frightened voice is heard over the video. Tourists scrambling down, 3 hikers presumed dead, according to local police.
It's killed them. Many people up there.
About 20 tourists were in the group, defying a ban on climbing the volcanic mountain, say local authorities, as it was on high alert for an eruption.
We are lucky. We already climbed down.
The climbers were all from Singapore and Indonesia, say officials.
There are still many local tourists. Oh my God. Oh, I hope they're alive.
Despite warnings not to climb into the restricted zone, many people still do, according to the local police chief.
When it's very quiet, it means the big eruption is coming.
The eruption was seen for miles around, spewing a thick ash column 6 miles into the air. 17 people were safely evacuated, say officials. 5 were injured. For those who survived,
when we are there, I already heard the deep eruption, and I make decision we have to climb down.
A lucky escape. Keir Simmons, NBC News.
And we return in 60 seconds. The search spanning 3 decades for Kristin Smart. Police announcing a potential discovery all these years later. We're going to explain it. We're back now with new developments in the case of Kristin Smart. She's the college student who disappeared 30 years ago. Police announcing a new discovery today. Steve Patterson has the details.
Tonight, a potential discovery in the 3-decade-long search for any sign of Kristin Smart. San Luis Obispo County Sheriff Ian Parkinson says they may be close. His deputies serving a search warrant at the home of Susan Flores. Her son Paul was convicted of killing Smart in 2022. Today, the sheriff sparking hope, saying ground scanning results for signs of human decomposition at the home have been positive, meaning there could be evidence of a body.
We believe that based on what we're looking at evidence-wise, scientific evidence, that a human remains were there at one time or still there.
The college student's 1996 disappearance captivated the country. She was never found and pronounced dead in 2002. For years, investigators focused on Flores, the last known person who was with Smart before she vanished. Flores was arrested in 2021 at his father's home. At the time, investigators found what prosecutors described as disturbed soil, roughly the size of a casket, along with the presence of human blood. Paul's father, Ruben Flores, also arrested as an accessory to murder, was acquitted. Tonight, the family of Kristin Smart optimistic, telling NBC News, "We remain hopeful that this current search will be successful and look forward to the outcome." The heart-wrenching 30-year story of a family's deserved closure may be closer than ever to ending, but still stalled on that final page. Steve Patterson, NBC News.
And we're back in a moment with a truck smashing into a school bus just as a teen is about to get on, and wait till you see what his father did. Plus, anger in Hawaii after this man throws a rock towards a protected seal. What's going to happen to him? That's next. We're back now with a massive explosion at a refinery in Louisiana. You can see the huge plumes of smoke right there rising into the air outside of New Orleans. Thankfully, the refinery said everyone working there in that area is safe tonight. Also, a disturbing incident caught on camera, sparking outrage in Hawaii. Here's why. A man is seen there throwing a large rock at a monk seal swimming near the shores in Lahaina. That seal, known as Lani by locals, has been there for decades. The mayor is vowing to prosecute him. Monk seals are protected under federal and Hawaii state law. And look at this crash from upstate New York. You can see a teen walking out of his house to catch the bus, but then a pickup truck slams right into it. Moments later, that teen's dad walks out, you're going to see it here, realizes what happens, and hugs his son after that close call. Several people had minor injuries in that crash from both the truck and on the bus. That's Nightly News for this Friday. Join us next week when I'll be reporting live from China during President Trump's historic visit. I'm Tom Llamas. Thanks so much for watching. Tonight and always, we're here for you. Good night. We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.